Hello everyone, today we're doing a short tutorial flight with the fly-by-wire A320. As you can see, we are currently cold and dark, so let's get the aircraft turned on and set up. First thing you want to do is turn the batteries on and the ground power if it's available. As you'll see, the aircraft will come alive the second you click ground power. Next thing you're going to want to do is turn on crew supply and turn on your GPS. You want to flick all three of these to nav, and we'll also turn fuel pumps on at the same time. While we're waiting for the GPS to align, we'll go over to the tablet. Now I've already set up a flight plan, so that should pull through automatically. If it doesn't, just click the import button down below. So what we'll do first is we'll go into the ground tab, go to our fuel, we'll click on the cloud button to synchronize it and click play. You'll see it briefly flashed green to say that it was loading fuel. Because it's only a short flight, there's not much fuel to add. Next we'll go over to the payload button, and as you can see, it's got all the information there. So we've got 160 passengers to board and 3,200 kilos of cargo. So what we'll do is we'll get that started. We'll click on the begin boarding button and that'll go green. As you can see, passengers are boarding and the cargo is loading. Next we'll go to the FMC and start booting that up. We'll give it a second because the GPS isn't aligned yet. There we go. So first thing we'll do is go to ATSU. We'll go over to this menu, go to the init page and hit request. Take about a second. There you go, data's inputted. So now what we want to do is go to the init page and click request. That'll take a couple of seconds. It'll show you down the bottom there that it's inserting in progress, and there you go. So you've got all your information on there. So the next thing you want to do is click the across button to go to the second page, and we're going to want to input our fuel and weight. So to do this, you'll need this information here. To find that, the first section, the ZFW, go back to the tablet, click the top tab, the dashboard, and you'll see it here. So it's 59.1 for this flight. So we'll go back down to here, we'll clear these messages at the bottom and insert 59.7. Now we need to input this weight as well, so we'll put a dash, and to find the second number we'll go back to ground tab and you'll see it here. So for this flight it's 32.7. So we'll go across and put in 32.7. We'll then click next to this here and you'll see it's inputted there. So for the block fuel weight, or for the block fuel, we want to go to this page here, dispatch, and you'll see all the aircraft dispatch information on this page. We want to scroll up and you'll see here block fuel, which is 4.327. So we'll round it up, we'll put in 4.4. So down here again 4.4, and we'll insert it here, and there you go. Not a lot of people put this in, is the trip wind. Now to find this, you'll want to go back onto this page, and just here you'll see your average wind. For this flight we are -10, so to do that we want to click the plus and minus button here till it's showing a minus there, and we'll put 010. We'll input it into there. Now you'll see I've got a headwind of 10 knots. If it had a P in front, that means it's positive, so it's a tailwind. So all you do is click this button twice and you'll see it turn positive. So you do the same thing, insert 010 and input there. So that's the init page complete. Next we'll go to the flight plan. As you can see, we've got a discontinuity there already, so we will clear that by clicking clear, and then that it's not allowing me. Okay, sometimes this happens, so what we'll do is we'll ignore it for now and we'll try again later. So first thing we'll do is click on our departure airport here. There we go, select departure, and we are taking off from, as you can see here, 26 left. So we want 26 left, and the SID we are using is this one here, the LAM 6 mic. So if you can't see it, just click the up arrow until you see it. There we go. So select that. As you can see, 26 left with the SID in there. So we'll insert that, and that will bring all that information in. As you can see, it's slowly loading up. So now what we'll do is we'll scroll for any discontinuities. There's one there, so we'll clear that if it allows us. There we go, and that's that. So what we'll also do now is set up our arrival. You can do this in flight, but I prefer to do it while I'm setting up the aircraft. So we are arriving at 23 right, so we will go down and you'll see there ILS 23 right. We'll select that, and the star we are using for this flight is this one here. So we go down and it's that one there, so we'll select that. We're not using any arrival for this one, and we'll insert that there. So you'll slowly see things change. There we go. So that's giving you your speeds, your altitude. We'll double check again for any discontinuities. There's one there, so we'll clear that, and that's set up. So that's your flight plan set up. So now you need to go into pre-flight and insert your takeoff parameters. So to do this, we'll use SimBrief. So we'll load the SimBrief up. Just got to give it a second. There we go, and we'll go to performance and tools and populate from last flight. So this is current flight plan, so we'll click calculate for takeoff, and that will give us all the information there. So what we'll do is we'll insert the V1, VR and V2 data first. So 138, insert to V1, 138 again for VR, and 139 for V2. So next we want flaps, so we'll be using flaps 1 and the flex temp is 67. Let's see if it's going to allow us to insert that way. No. Okay, so we'll need to have a look. Oh, there we go. So my apologies, so we'll clear that. So we are using flaps 1, insert there, and the flex temp is 67. That goes into here. There we go. So that is your takeoff parameters setting. Now if we go across, you'll see it's already calculated your climb speeds, cruise speed and altitude, descent management, and then the next one is your arrival. Again, let's close SimBrief down. So again, I like to insert all this information while we're still on the ground, and then any changes during flight I'll update it then. So the QNH is this number here, air pressure. So we'll insert 1016. So 1016 into the QNH. Temperature, which is this one here, is 10 degrees. 10 into temperature, and then the mag and wind, which is this number here. So to insert that, we will go 270 dash, and it was 10 knots. 010. Insert that into there, and that is that. Now for your barrow, you could bring up Navigraph and go through the charts, get all your information there. However, if you haven't got Navigraph and you haven't got access to the charts and you'll want to do an auto landing, is a simple way. Insert NO into radio and you'll see no decision height. So basically it will auto detect where the ground is and go from there. So that is pretty much all of the FMC started, all programmed in, and that's you pretty much ready to go. So next what we'll do is we'll finish setting up the aircraft, get us started up, taxi out and take off. Let's check if we have finished boarding. We are. As you can see, our current now matches up with our planned, so we are good to go. So what we'll do is we'll disconnect the jet bridge, which wasn't connected. Okay, we'll get the APU started. To do that, we will go here, so APU master, turn on, give that 5 seconds, and we'll click start. So we'll start that. You'll see down below the APU is starting up. One thing we want to do is insert our QNH. We'll select it to that one, and we want to input our QNH, which is 1018. So we'll turn that round to 1018. We'll get the autopilot set up. Now, as you can see, these little dots indicate that they are in a managed mode. So basically the FMC is managing your speed and your heading. So now what we want to do is insert our altitude. So we are flying at flight level 240 today. To find that, you just click on the init page and it's right down the bottom. So we will go up to the top and we will insert flight level 240. And there we go. As you can see, the little dots come on to say that it's in managed mode. So that will basically take you up through all the steps that is in the flight plan. So as you can see here, altitude as we go through our initial climb, it holds for a bit and then it continues to climb, as you can see there, and then it will get to the top of climb there. So now that the APU is running, we will turn our APU bleed on and we'll turn external power off. Now the aircraft is running on its own. Next thing we want to do is turn beacon lights on and wing lights on, and we are ready to push back and start the engines. So what we will do is in fly-by-wire you can go to ground and push back, turn on the pushback option and call the tug. You'll see the tug start moving here if it's showing, and we will give it 5 minutes. Now you won't see me push all the buttons using my mouse because I am using the Thrustmaster Airbus joystick and throttle quadrants, so some of the buttons I have already mapped to the buttons on my joysticks, so I will still show you where they are, but I will not be clicking. So the tug should be ready, so what we will do is we will release our parking brakes and we will ask to push back, but first 26, yep, okay, so we'll push back and we need to go to the left. So as you can see, you've got a nice little line there that indicates where the aircraft is going. While that is happening, we will start the engines. We want to turn this to ignition start. You'll see this change and you can see nothing is running. So we will start engines 2 and you'll slowly see the temperature rising. Here we go. So N2 should start to rise. Which is not. Bear with me. Are we having issues with our controller again? Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Right, so as you can see, N2 is starting to climb and so is the M1. Let's check where we are on the taxiway. So we need to be on this line here, so we'll increase the left turn again. As you can see, we are pushing back. We are almost on that center line. Once we're on that center line, we'll straighten her up and push back slightly just to make sure we are lined up. So we'll straighten it out a little bit and then we will stop moving. Engage the parking brakes and disconnect the tug. As you can see, we're still waiting for engine 2 to be ready, and there it is, available, so we will start engine 1. There we go, that's both engines available. So we will now turn the ignition to normal mode, back to the center, and that is basically the engine start done. So now we will, oops, okay, so there we go. So as you can see, this is for takeoff, so we will set, it's asking for brakes to max. Seatbelt signs are on. I'm not sure why. Oh no, they're not. Seatbelts, that. So seatbelt signs on. No devices to on. Emergency exit lights to auto. We'll turn nav and logo on. Strobes to auto. We'll also turn our nose lights to taxi. Runway lights, turn off lights on. So as you can see, that's now checked. Cabin check, we want to click this button here, all, and that will be that checked. Spoiler flaps, spoilers to armed, you'll pull this lever up. There we go. And flaps to your assigned takeoff notch, which, if you remember, we selected flaps 1, so if we set them to 1, you'll see that go green. Give that a couple of seconds to come down, and then we hit this takeoff checklist button here, which you'll see that will go green there. That means you are ready for takeoff. So let's taxi out to the runway and get in the air. So here we go, we're arriving at the runway. Once on the runway, we're going to bring our throttles up to 50%, let them stabilize and go straight up to take off, throttle, and get in the air. So we'll get lined up on the runway. We will turn our runway lights on. We will flick this to take off. We will also turn our landing lights to on, and that is us ready to go. We'll also turn APU off, APU bleed off, and let's get in the air. So up to 50% power, or 50% N1. Make sure they are stabilized. And go to takeoff speed. There we go, V1, V2, rotate. So we've got a positive rate, so we'll bring the gear up. Once you get over about 500 feet, you can then activate the autopilot. To do that, you can click autopilot 1, auto throttle automatically comes on. We are waiting for this here, so level climb. You want to bring your thrust levers down to level climb. Just clear that, and nose drops down and brings us into our pattern. So we're waiting for the speed to come up a bit, and we'll bring the flaps up.
2500.
There we go, we can bring flaps up now. We will also turn the TCAS on. So to do that, we want to flick this twice and flick that once. Let's get this out of the way. We want to put activate our nose shear warning on as well. We can deactivate our ground spoilers now. And as you can see, we're following our designated track out. Again, as you can see, we are holding at 4,000 feet until we pass the waypoints, and it will gradually bring itself up. As you'll also see, the speed is increasing because we've just passed another waypoint, so the computer has detected that we've passed a speed restriction and increased to the holding speed for below 10,000. There we go, you can see we are starting to climb now because we've just passed another waypoint, so it will now take us up to the next height of 5,000. You will occasionally see these flash or boxes go around them. This is just telling you that the autopilot is managing and changing the desired parameters on it. So you can see it's currently in climb mode. As we climb up to the 5,000, and it will hold there. We can also, if needs be, put this back to ground. That just gives us our information. So again, like I said at the beginning, if we need to change any of this information, like the wind, because it's now changed, we can go back during the flight and input that. But if nothing changes, it's already inputted and you are good. The departure out of Gatwick is normally quite a long one. You normally sat down at about 5,000 to 6,000 feet for quite a while until you get out of sort of Greater London area. So you can expect a quite slow climb out. But if you wanted to fly on your own, you can put it into expedite mode and it will take you straight up to your inputted flight level. But for this tutorial we will keep it in managed mode and fly through the steps. But as you can see, we are almost out of the managed area. Got about two waypoints left, and then we'll start climbing up to our cruising altitude. As you can see, we've just passed another waypoint and it's put us into climb mode again as we are climbing up to 6,000 feet. So the aircraft will automatically bring us up to that level. And once we get to 6,000 feet, we are passing our transition altitude. So the Q and H down here will start flashing. That's when we need to put this into standard mode, basically to standardize everyone's altitude. So everyone's flying at the same altitude. There you go, it started flashing. So with the down arrow you want to click and you'll see it goes into STDs for standard. It will show there and it will show we are slightly below our assigned altitude, but it will bring it up shortly. You can see here in the flight display that this waypoint is blue to tell us that that is the end of the restrictions and the aircraft will start climbing up to our assigned altitudes using the steps programmed in. So here we go, we're about to pass the waypoint, and as you can see there's a little arrow that's just appeared to say that we are about to climb. Something has happened. Appears something's gone wrong somewhere, so let's just have a look. It's not happy with something. Okay, so it just appears it's bug of some sort, I'd say, because as you can see the waypoints continue here, so hopefully it will continue on the assigned path. Let's have a look. Yeah, we'll just carry on and see if it continues. We're above 10,000 feet now, so we'll turn the landing lights off, the nose lights to off, and the runway turn lights off, as well as the seat belts, devices. And we'll carry on up to our cruising altitude. So as you can see, we are now at our cruising altitude, so it will hold this now. I'm not too sure what's going on with the FMC. For some reason it's taken out the descent when I should be descending. I'm just trying to have a look. Obviously there's some sort of bug that's happened, and it's cleared it, so we're going to have to judge that. It's not even sure. Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but as you can see we've pretty much lost all information, so we're going to have to judge when we need to start descending, etc. Yep, so it doesn't even look like it is following the flight plan anymore. So we're going to have to sort something. So what we'll do is, I think we will, where it picks up again is the TNT. So what we'll do is, hopefully if we go a direct to TNT, input that. There we go, that's now sorted it. So you can see we have just reached the top of descent. There was a little arrow there, and it normally flashes up a message there so we will start descending down to, we'll set it at 3000, so let's quickly set that to 3000, and with the up arrow hit select and you'll see it go into managed mode. So the aircraft should start coming down. Now we do need to get down pretty quick because we are slightly behind. So one little trick is if you extend the flaps out, you will see your rate of descent increase. Now this little dot here is where you should be. So you can see we're not too far behind, but we will increase the flaps to get us down. So we are lower than we should be, so we'll decrease the speed brakes. And there you go, you can see it's slowly starting to come in line, and once we're in line with that green dot, the aircraft should follow that green dot down. That will take you down through all the steps. Now that we've got this waypoint sorted, you can see here the steps that it's going to take all along here. And then you can see once it gets to this point here, it will go into deceleration mode, and that's when it will slow the aircraft down and bring it to landing speed basically. So we just need to keep an eye on everything, keep an eye on this. If it starts to drop below, we need to increase the air brakes again, just to get it to come down a bit quicker. But other than that, the aircraft should come down on its own. Once we get a little closer, I will show you how to put it into auto land mode, and the aircraft will basically land itself. It will line itself up, it will take itself down on the glide slope, it will flare out as it touches down on the ground, and it will auto brake as well. But you need to make sure you have everything set up correctly. And everything set up in the FMC correctly as well. So we're just going to, while we're coming down, while we've got time, we're going to go into the pre-flight again, select next phase, and you can see approach. So let's just double check all the figures. So QNH is 1016, that's still correct. Wind I believe has slightly changed, so it's 280 at 7 knots. So again, we'll put in 280-007 and we'll insert that there, and I believe nothing else has changed, so we can leave everything else. So that is the approach selected again. So we can click flight pattern and just keep an eye on everything there. So you can see we've got 80 nautical miles left to go, which is roughly 13 minutes. So we'll just keep an eye on everything and bring her down nice and slowly. So again, in regards to the QNH, you can see here the transition altitude is 6,000 again for this one. So once we get to 6,000 feet, this will start to flash, and that's when we need to put this in. So I believe we can, no we can't. I believe on the 380 we can input the QNH ready, but on the 320 we're not able. So as you can see, we are coming down nicely. These pink dots here indicate a speed change, so you need to bear that in mind. You may need to add some speed brakes to slow yourself down. So again, we'll keep an eye on what's going on. We are currently 69 miles away now. Once we get to about 30 miles, we'll activate the LS mode. And that will basically show you where your glide slope is. So as you can see, we're coming up to the speed change. That will be in preparation for dropping below 10,000 feet. And there you go, we've just passed it, so you can see here that the speed has dropped. We need to be below 250 knots, so the aircraft is dipping its nose up, but the green dot is dropping below. So we'll add one flap of speed brake, and hopefully that will slow the aircraft and bring us down. Also, as you can see here, when we set up the aircraft, we said that there was no decision height for the runway, and you can see it now here saying no decision height, so it knows that we are on approach. We will get rid of the speed brake. Apparently we have a company message. That will be the wind request that we sent. So received messages. Now I'm not sure many people know this, but you can actually print all this data out. Now all this data here is basically everything you've got here. So what you can do is select print, and you'll see it coming out here. You can click on that and it inputs it here. So you can now see, so this is the metadata for Manchester. It's all here, so we can see that the speed has changed again, the wind speed, but this hasn't updated. So we'll keep an eye on that because we may need to change it again. So we're below 10,000 feet now, so we're going to turn the land lights on, the nose lights to take off. We'll leave the runway turn off lights because we're not actually on the runway. We want seatbelt lights, no appliances to on, double check we've got no lights, and we are ready to come down some more. So we'll continue in managed mode. And go back to the flight plan. We are 53 miles from destination. Now it's looking rather busy at Manchester, so what I will probably do is turn the TCAS off so we get no warnings, because that does change and it can interrupt your descent. It will basically detect you're near traffic and stop your descent or suddenly increase your altitude. So once we get closer, if we start to get any warnings, we will turn TCAS off just for the tutorial, so we can get the plane on the ground and have no interruptions. As you can see, the plane is now decelerating some more, and we are getting to the points where we need flaps, so we're going to put it to flaps 1, as she is now in deceleration mode. So as the speed comes down, you can see these little orange lines. These are when each flap needs to be selected. So we are approaching flaps 2, so in a second we will put flaps to 2, and there we are, we're crossing that threshold, so we'll increase flaps to 2. And this will be because the approach we are making will be close to the runway. Excuse me. So as you can see, we need flaps 3 now. As we continue down, you can see speed is coming down nice and slowly. We're not on that green dot, but we're not a million miles away from it at the moment. But because the aircraft is trying to decelerate on its own, we're pitching up slightly, so we'll increase flaps to full now. Oh, it wants the landing gear down as well, apparently. So we'll put the landing gear down. Wait for them to lock, and that alarm should, there we go. So as you can see, we are at the assigned speed, so we are coming in on our approach. Speed is still coming down. We're looking for that 6,000 feet, and then we will take the QNH, put it to 1016 instead of standard. So as you can see, the aircraft is coming down fairly quickly. And there you go, it started to flash, so we want to, on the up, and we want to put it to QNH 1016. Now that knows exactly where the ground is. As you can see, because we're close to the airport, it was flashing up the landing checklist. We'll ignore that for the time being because we aren't quite ready for landing yet. Let's just have a look outside. So as you can see, the plane is set up. We've got a slight amount of turbulence, but the plane should manage on its own. So we've got 3.9, so what we'll do is we'll activate the LS mode on both sides. So as you can see here now, you have these lines here either side. Once we get lined up on the runway and we get closer, you will see a purple diamond. That is where your glide slope is. Once they start to appear, we will put it into approach mode and get set up for an auto landing. And to do that, what you'll basically do is, once you see them triangles and you are basically lined up, you want to click the approach button here. That will then acquire the glide slope. Once it's acquired it, you want to activate AP2. That will then activate your auto land procedure. Once that's activated, you just need to monitor everything and make sure up here that it's activating everything it needs to. Once we get closer, you'll see it go into a Cat 3 dual landing, and this will also change as well. You'll see, I believe it goes into land mode first, and as we're close to the runway, it will go into flare, which will flare the nose up and bring you down gently. There we go, there's the triangles we were on about. We don't need to worry about them just yet because we are not close enough. We will monitor TCAS. If it gets too irritating, we will turn it off, because like I said, it is quite busy and it could affect the landing. There we go, so you can see we are crossing the path of a aircraft coming into land. Actually, what we'll do is we will turn the TCAS off. We'll get a warning, but we can ignore that. You can see we are 30 miles away. We should be landing in the next 12 minutes, 12 to 13 minutes. What we're going to do is we're going to increase the landing speed as well. So to do this, we want to go to, here we go, so the VAPP, it's saying 131 knots, so we will increase that to 145 and input it there, so that will give us a bit more speed. So as you can see, it's changed, so we're increasing speed now. As you can see, these diamonds are coming up. That's because we're getting further away from the runway. So we will just sit and monitor everything now. And once we come round and line up with the runway, we will activate the approach mode and bring her in.
$2,500.
As you can see, we are hitting a fair bit of turbulence now, but the computer should manage the aircraft. It will be because we're coming over these hills here, so the updraft off of them will be affecting the plane.
2000.
So now we're coming round to line up on the runway. We will keep an eye on these purple marks here. Once they start to move down and across, we will activate the approach mode. So all we're doing now is keeping an eye on these. You'll see on the way the path here. Once we've come along here, we want to capture the glide slope. So at first it will capture the localizer, which is this bottom one. You'll start to see this come along any minute. There we go, starting to come across. So that's the aircraft lining up with the runway, which you can see off in the distance there. So as you can see, we're still in a managed mode. Although we set 3000, the steps in the flight plan have kept us at 3500. That's because of these hills that we're currently coming across. I should imagine once we pass them, it will drop down again. So as you can see, this bottom one here, we are right on the center line, so we are lined up on the center line of the runway. As you can see, we've also got a fair bit of crosswind, so it's going to be quite a tricky landing. But the autopilot should do everything for you, and the auto land should also do it for you as well. So you can see the glide slope coming in now. So what we'll do is we'll click this button over here
2500
and put it into approach mode. You can see we've got a Cat 1 single at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll activate autopilot 2, and that should change to a Cat 3 dual. Auto land is now activated.
2000.
She should level out at the assigned altitude of 3000, and then once this triangle purple icon here is in line, it will start to come down with the glide slope. So what the approach will now do is capture the glide slope, and it will bring her down. So you can see at the bottom here we are centered with the runway, with the center line, and you'll see any minute now that we'll start losing altitude as we capture the glide slope. And there we go. So as you can see, the altitude is dropping slowly. We are now on the glide slope, which is indicated here. We are on the localizer.
2500.
So she'll come down nice and slowly. It is very windy, so it could be a tricky landing. We may need to take over, but hopefully we can leave it in auto land mode and she'll bring it down nicely. So all you're doing while you're coming down is just monitoring everything. Eventually you will hear it ask you to drop your throttle. and this is indicated by retard. Once they start calling that out, you need to bring your throttles down to idle and it will land on its own. So again, we're just monitoring everything. You can see we're still on a Cat 3 dual. What we'll do is we will arm the spoilers, basically get the aircraft set up. We will set auto brake to medium for this landing. We will do a cabin call, check all lights are on. We're a bit dark inside, so we're going to turn the inside lights on just to light things up a little bit. So as you can see, we're coming down nice and slowly, still on the glide slope. Flaps are full, speed brake armed, and we are ready to land.
1000.
So as you can see, the auto lander is bringing her in nice and gently. You're keeping an eye out on here. It should go into land mode shortly, and then once it's close to the ground it will go into flare mode. So you can see on the checklist here that we've done everything for landing, so we are confirmed to land.
$500. 400.
So as you can see now, it's gone into land mode, so that tells you that the auto land is activated, and it will hit you on the ground right on the landing marks. Any second now
100.
you'll see flare.
50, 40, 30,
There's the flare.
20, 10. Retard.
Is bringing throttles down, and it's in rollout, so we'll activate the reversers, bring it to a nice gentle slow 60 knots, turn the reversers off, and we will now take control. So it stopped us on the runway because the auto brakes didn't disengage. So now let's taxi off. We will start the APU, turn it on, wait 5 seconds, and hit start. We will turn them to taxi, turn landing lights off, and put runway turn off lights on. Slow ourselves down, we'll bring the flaps up, and we'll taxi to the stand. We're basically waiting for this to be available to turn the, there we go, so we'll turn the APU bleed on. APU is now running, so when we shut the engines down we won't lose power. And there we go, we've arrived. So let's shut down first of all the engines. So reverse order, flick these. Turn lights off. Now if you're going for realism, we want to call for the jet bridge, so we want to go to ground, services, and call the jet bridge ready for deboarding, which can be done by clicking this button here. So once the jet bridge has connected, there we go, we can begin deboarding. And there you go. Now you'll see all the passengers we picked up and the cargo will be unloaded. We can continue shutting the aircraft down now. So we have got ground power available, so we'll turn on the ground power, turn off the APU, turn off the APU bleed. Also want to turn off fuel pumps. GPS can be turned off. Leave crew supply on, as that will cut circulation in the back. We can turn them off, and you'll see the aircraft will start shutting down while we unload. But that is it, everyone. If you've got any questions, please feel free to drop me a message. I hope I've explained everything. Have a good one.